So let us have a look at what else happens in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, and what's shown here are three transects, vertical transects. The top one is temperature, so you cut through the Atlantic Ocean from south to north. South is on the left, north is on the right. Okay, and the top figure shows you the temperature distribution. The middle panel shows you the salinity distribution, and the bottom one, dissolved oxygen, okay, in milliliters per liter. Okay, so what can you see here? Just a little reminder. Look at the temperature distribution. What you can see are the regions, say, between 50 degrees south and 50 degrees north, where temperature controls the density stratification. Temperature, the warm surface water, keeps the temperature concentrated near the surface. And this is what we call the permanent thermocline. It's the transition zone between the surface water and the deeper water, and this warm lit in the ocean. What it actually does is it prevents the exchange between surface waters and deep waters in these areas. It's the density stratification that hinders the direct exchange. The direct exchange between the surface and the bottom waters happens at higher latitude. And here you can see the formation, you can see the spreading of Labrador seawater, it's called LS here, and Greenland seawater, GS, and this is the starting point of the deep circulation. This is the North Atlantic deep water. Okay, this is the water that spreads through all the ocean. You can see that Greenland seawater is a little bit heavier, and it sits underneath the Labrador seawater. Okay, what's also illustrated here is you can't see it in the salinity, in the temperature field, but in the salinity field is actually water that comes from the Mediterranean Sea, from the Eurafrican Mediterranean Sea. And we talk about that later on. It turns up here, you cut through the Atlantic Ocean, it turns up at a depth between 1,000 and 2,000 meters. Here, indeed, you can also see the Antarctic bottom water, and this is just the coldest. Okay, in addition to that, so I don't make that story too long. You can also see something we call intermediate water, can be identified from a local salinity minimum, and it's most pronounced in the southern hemisphere, and this is called the Antarctic intermediate water. And there's not much production of intermediate water in the northern hemisphere. There's not much happening here. And indeed, what you also you can have a look at the oxygen distributions. What you learn from the oxygen is that there is plenty of dissolved oxygen in the deep sea. Okay, the North Atlantic Ocean has the highest oxygen content in deep and bottom waters because it's directly connected to the convection regions in the Greenland Sea and in the Labrador Sea. Okay, so you can only see oxygen minimum zones just near the equator at depth or below, something like 500 meters or so and below. Okay, you can see a minimum. Okay, these are the source water masses that you find in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so what else do we need to do? And we can have a look at the intermediate waters. Okay. Where are they formed? And one way of doing that is you look at all your observations, and then you do two things. First of all, you identify the salinity minimum in your vertical profile, and then you write down the depth. Where is this? Okay, and you produce a horizontal distribution. Okay, you either hand draw a map, or you use a GIS program. And that's shown here in the top and the left side. Okay, left figure shows you the depth of the salinity minimum, and you can see there's somewhere in these green areas it's less than 200 meters. This is the connection to the ocean, to the surface, sorry, to the surface, and it's actually the Ekman pumping that pumps this water into the ocean interior. And then you can see there are regions where it's a low, you know, it exceeds 900 meters, and it's 700 meters, 700. North of the equator, there is not much happening in the northern hemisphere. There's a little bit of intermediate water formation, but here the action takes more place in the southern hemisphere. Okay, this is intermediate water. All right.